Marco Liberati, thanks for coming on the show, mate.
Thanks for having me, Alan.
That's all right. Now, I'll give Marco a little bit of introduction. Marco, you have a show on Channel 31 called Tell Us Another One.
That's right.
But you're also a stand-up comic, is that right? Or you got a history, or...
Yeah, took up drama in high school and got the bug. Yeah, I had to actually do a solo piece in Year 12. I had to do a solo performance. And we had a Star Search program on TV at lunchtime. We had our Star Search program. I said, can I jump in and be part of the talent show? I said, yeah, all right. And I just impersonated all the teachers.
Okay.
All these different impersonations, different voices. And that was good fun. I used to actually do it in class as a bit of a prank. We'd have one teacher who was always late, Mr. Rankin. And I'd always sort of sneak up to the front of the classroom while everyone's chatting, carrying on. They're getting a bit rough and raucous. And then I'd slam the door and go, right, that's it, settle down, please. And straight away they just, and Marco. And then when the real teacher walked in, they were like, okay. That was great fun, just a piss take on all the different teachers.
What's interesting about that is that Eric Banner used to imitate his teachers.
Okay.
And some of Eric Banner's school buddies said to him, well, you're not going to earn a living imitating your teachers. But, with that skill entailed, he went on to do great stand-up comedy show and then, of course, end up in the movie business. You know? But you do stand-up, right, Marco? You've done, you do gigs and everything.
Yeah, I've been doing stand-up. Well, got the bug when I was 17, 18 at school. And I think it's because I could relate to the audience. Obviously, you're doing material about teachers. You've got your prime audience right there in front of you. They absolutely loved it. And I was treated like a rock star for like about a month, I reckon. I was like, I saw you do Mr. I saw you do that teacher. I saw you do Mr. Brock. And it was like, everyone could relate to it. It was great fun and it was good fun. And that's why I got the bug. And I've been doing comedy on and off since then. And then obviously married, 4 kids.
Oh, really?
And working, and it was on and off. Sometimes I'd take a break for a year or so, then sometimes I'd write something and something will come to me or I'll see something, I'm like, this is fun. And then I'll be like, you want to perform this, and once you learn it, then get up on stage, have a crack. So very sporadic.
But the weird thing is that there's a theory that you run your own race anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, whether you're gigging 7 nights a week or whether you're doing 5 gigs and having 6 months off and another 5 gigs, there's no rules in comedy, right? In fact, people would say there's no rules in art.
Yeah.
What was your first gig like, Marco? The first time you went to a pub or a comedy venue and jumped up? Tell us about the first time. I mean, were you nervous and how'd it go?
First time, I actually joined a drama group after I finished high school. And in the drama group, I was doing a bit of comedy, a bit of MC work, sort of hosting the show. And we done a live show. And it was a variety show. That was good fun. And then from there, I went to the Comics Lounge. And the drama group came with me to support me. So I bring a nice group. So they put me on, I think, towards the end, or to end of the first bracket.
Was that the night they do the school, or was it Tuesday night?
It was a Tuesday night, Rising Star night or Comic Night.
Great.
And I think Tommy Little at the time was MC, and he brought me on. And I didn't know that there was a time limit.
Oh, right.
I didn't realise it was 5 minutes. So I had all these little characters that I was doing. I was doing impersonations of characters at the time. And next thing you know, there's a call from the back curtain, wrap it up, mate. Okay, just one more. And then it kept going, and I finished off that, and I said, okay, one more, and I've done the next character. And then wrap it up, mate. Righto. And then next thing you know, I think I'm on stage, for 9 or 10 minutes. I didn't realise the very first time. And I get off stage, and they look at the blokes, like the MC's like, mate, well done, good gig. You've done pretty good. But mate, it's only 5 minutes. It went for about 9 minutes. I said, shit, sorry, mate.
Well, would have been helpful if they'd maybe told you that before the gig, that it's only, you know what I mean, a 5 minute spot, We've all gone over time and all gone under time. We've done all of that.
Yeah.
So Marco, you did your first gig at the Comics Lounge, right? And then where did you go from there? You kept doing gigs around the place, or I mean, what's your, what's you're talking about kind of like gigging and breaking gigs.
Yeah.
So what's that look like in reality? Like, how many gigs would you do a year, do you reckon? I've seen it at the Le Monde. Obviously you've done Le Monde quite a number of times.
Yeah, that's right. I'll tell you what, before COVID, I was doing a Boris character, Boris from Russia, and I had the jacket, the big furry hat, the whole deal. And I got this character down pat, and I was doing a lot of that character work, and I was actually giving it a red hot go pre-COVID, so probably 20, 2015, 16, 17, just giving this character a red hot go. And then, COVID came and everything stopped and died, and then I decided to do my show after that.
Yeah, okay.
But pre that, I think from the day I first started gigging at the Comics Lounge, got the bug, and I was there probably 3 or 4 times a year, probably every 3 or 4 months I'd get up and have a go at the Comics Lounge.
Fantastic.
Done that, since like 1920s. Got married, had kids, and pretty much didn't do much for probably a good 10 years, I reckon.
Yeah, right.
So big break.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, I did comedy in the 1990s till about, from 1991 till about 2002, and then I had a 20-year break.
Right.
And I found that it was hard to get back into the swing of, get your confidence up and everything.
Yeah.
Like when I was in my 20s, I had this kind of bravado and full of confidence and unshakable belief in myself. But then as a 56-year-old, you'd kind of get up there and it'd be kind of like, gee, they look like a young audience, and you'd be second-guessing yourself and nerves and rah. How do you find at your age doing comedy, Marco, with 4 kids at home and a wife? I mean, obviously you can't be out every night of the week, I suppose, but how do you find it?
Wife and kids have been absolutely brilliant. So apart from doing performing and doing stand-up, I also done magic as well. I was doing magic work, so I was a magician. That started off when the kids were quite young. I bought a magic set and to entertain them, done some magic. And then a family friend goes, can you do my kids' party? And then I've done their party. I said, that's pretty good. And then from there, I just kept doing magic shows. And so I got into children's entertainment. So I've done magic for a few years. So if it wasn't comedy, it was magic. Then I wrote a children's book. So I became a children's author as well, self-published. So there's always something going on, artistic. So if it's not comedy, it's magic. If it's not that, it's entertainment. There's always something.
Yeah. I actually feel the same way. I play a bit of guitar, and I've got a bit of a band. There's a bit of a plug to the fuddies there. Oh, by the way, if you haven't subscribed, push subscribe. And then if I'm not doing music, I'm doing a bit of comedy. Sometimes I'm doing a little bit of acting, background extra work, stuff like that. I've also written a couple of books, plus I've done some kids' books.
Right.
And then I do a lot of visual art. So so you can see that my painting's kind of up there.
Yeah.
So I'm always kind of flipping the switch creatively, going from one thing to another. And apparently it's not very good for you because you never really master one. But
that's a jack of all trades, master of none.
I know, but who cares? So Marco, you said you started a Channel 31 show.
Yeah.
Called Tell Us Another One. Tell us about the show. What's it? Where's it? Where do you film it? How do you come up with the idea? Who do you get on?
The idea came about similar to what you were saying. Like as you get older, you're like, where do you go to gig? Where do you do comedy? And the comedy scene's changed, and there's no real sort of platform out there for anyone to. I've only seen in the whole entire time I've been doing stand-up, so the last 30 years, I've only seen maybe a handful of comics that have made it to TV, radio, and actually got somewhere with it. And I thought, there's no real platform out there. There's either you gig at pubs, clubs. If you're lucky, you go to the Comics Lounge, and then you might get something, on TV or radio. But there was no real sort of. I think back in our days, sort of showing our age, but there was Hey Saturday. You can go on Hey Saturday, and you can go on Red Faces, and you can do a comedy routine or an impersonation, and you might get noticed.
And they also had the Steve Izard show. You could go on the Steve Izard show. We're often have a comic on.
Right.
And I actually went on Steve Izard's show when I was in a double act a couple of times. And the funny thing was, when we auditioned for the Steve Izard show, they brought in all these school kids.
Right.
And we killed the audition, right? The school kids, that's really funny. And then when we did the actual Steve Izard show, it was all kind of like, it's kind of like, we got a few laughs, but it wasn't like the audition,
Right.
So Marco, tell us another one. You had comic guests that come on.
Yeah.
And what do? They do their routine, or what do they do?
Yeah, I've decided to create a comedy variety show. So, there used to be Red Faces where you could tell jokes or do a routine. So I thought I'd get comedians up and tell jokes. So we do a segment called Joke Off, where we just do a couple of jokes backwards, forwards, just to sort of introduce the comedian to the audience and just to warm things up and get them to sort of, relaxed on stage and get the audience to know who they are.
And where's it filmed, Marco?
In Dandenong, at the Dandenong Club.
Oh, so you actually have a club where you film it there.
Yeah, so the Dandenong Club's, I guess it's like it's a bowls club, Dandenong Bowls Club, and they've got a function room which we use. And in their function room, that's really nicely set up. We've got your stage, tables, chairs, bar at the back.
Fantastic.
Really nice setup, and yeah, we film there.
How often do you film?
We've only done 3 seasons. So we've filmed every year for the last 3 years.
Yep.
And we film Sunday night 2 shows back to back.
Wow.
And we do that 4 nights in a row. So we get 8 shows in the can.
Oh, okay. Right. And so basically it's a half-hour show, is it?
Yeah, we edit it down to a half-hour show.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And so what is the format? So you've got a comic coming up, tell a couple of gags each. What else? I mean, how do you fill that half an hour?
Yeah, so I'll get up and just introduce myself and do a little spot at the start.
Fantastic.
Excuse me. And then we get the special guest comedian to come up and we do a couple of jokes for our joke off. When we first started out, we done all types of comedy. So it was bar jokes at the bar, and we tell a couple of, guy walks into a bar sort of style jokes in front of the bar. Sometimes we might get a guest comedian to come up and tell a bar joke as well.
Okay, cool.
We do knock jokes, and we obviously get the comedian to come up at the end of the night to headline and actually do a 10-minute set.
Oh, 10 minutes.
Yeah, so it was jokes, sketch, stand-up, improv comedy is what we introduced as well.
Yeah.
And we pre-record sketches as well, so the sketches were included in the show as well.
So how did you deal with 31? What did you just made contact with them and said, look, got this show.
Yeah. They
saw it. They gave the tick off. Do you have to pay to play? I mean, do you have to pay?
No, Channel 31 is community TV, and if you've got a show like this one, for example, you could approach Channel 31. They'll tell you what all the specifications are. So separate sound, mic, 1080p for a minimum on recording for film quality, and as long as you've got a show and they like it, they'll put it on.
Oh, really?
So,
okay.
they'll let you know what time, what day, what time slot.
Yeah.
And they'll put it on, give you a go. So.
And they're obviously looking for stuff all the time, or they're not, or they get inundated with stuff, or.
Well, the reason I got on 31 is years back. I got in touch with the guy Tony Nardella, calls himself Tony Shump, and he had a show called The Shumps, and that was on Channel 31. And he wanted someone to come on board, and he wanted a comedian to come on and do script writing and sketches and film and record, and that's where I got the taste of it.
Yeah, right.
So that was all basically doing your scripting, your formatting, writing up your show, writing up your sketches.
And who films your show, Marco, at the Dandenong Club?
So this last season I got Paul from Sunnyside Films to film. Before Paul's done 2 seasons. Before that I had another guy. But I just put it out there, advertised, and found a videographer.
What is it, a 1-camera shoot or 2 cameras? Or
2 cameras. So we've got 2 cameras, and we've got one on the audience as well for audience reactions.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So we've got, we actually, over the years, we've streamlined it. We've got a nice backdrop now, so season 3 looked nice with a nice brick wall and the big Tell Us Another One logo.
Yeah.
So that looks good. We've got the mics, and we've got little clip-on mics.
Oh yeah,
the actual mic. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So instead of a lapel mic, it's on the microphone.
Oh, okay.
So when you're talking on the microphone, the audience can hear you, and then you've got the direct feed to the camera.
Oh, okay. Fantastic. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So we've refined it. So it's getting better each year.
And so Marco, it's funny because I did a show with Dan Brader this week, and we were talking about 3 different types of comics. We're talking about the comics who just do comedy, the comics who are comics and promoters, and then we're talking about the 3rd type of comic who kind of does the high-end radio, film, TV, breaks through. But in fact, probably people like yourself and I potentially are a 4th breed where we do this kind of not low budget, but we kind of grungy. Kind of grungy shows, kind of in back alleyways or whatever, or back venues or whatever. Would you like to see Tell Us Another One end up on the mainstream TV or a Stan or something? Or
I'd love it. Yeah, I reckon I need 1 more season to fine tune it and really brush it up, and hopefully I can start pitching it and promoting it and take it somewhere.
Yeah.
That's the goal, to create a platform where comedians can come on, get known, get noticed, and share it around.
And what was your thoughts about the Arwin Kraze show? Because we're talking comedy business. We're just talking comedy business. We're not. There's no pressure for anyone to come on and actually be funny. But we're just talking about the ins and outs of comedy.
Yeah.
What do you make of the Arwin Kraze show? It's kind of interesting concept. It's got its own niche. It fits in somewhere.
That's it. Yeah, I saw the show. Looked up on YouTube and sussed it out and saw a few episodes and. Yeah, I like it. You get to start somewhere, and it's great. You do your homemade set, and I love
that's
it.
right.
It's simple, it's basic, it's easy.
Yeah, and a big shout out to Ken, who works for the Melbourne Theatre Company, Ken Setmaker, who's actually going to be replacing the City Skyline for us with something.
Yeah.
Actually, he's going to be putting. I've got you gave me kind of. We're going to be putting something like this over the set with perspex windows.
Nice.
So kind of like anyway.
Very good.
I guess. Yeah.
That's it.
Now, Marco, you did ask me about the desk. Where did I get the desk? A friend of mine's brother is a carpenter.
Okay.
And he put it together for us for free because he's my friend's brother. He's the brother of my friend. But he said that it would be about a $2,500 job if it wasn't a mate's thing, Oh, well. Now you're a carpenter, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think of the desk?
Oh, it's good.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, it's good. Yeah. Our first season of Tell Us Another One was just a simple silver curtain that came with the venue.
Yeah.
And it was like pinned up and it had some fancy design on it.
Yeah.
Season 2, they actually just kept it plain, and I actually got a sign made up that said, "Tell us another one," so you knew you had some identity for the show.
Yeah.
And then season 3, we actually got a nice professional backdrop, which looks fantastic. So, yeah, you got to start somewhere. Yeah?
So Marco, have you been? Has this been a hit to the wallet for you? This show, Tell Us Another One. So you basically you're producer, but you're also paying for you pay the videographers. Is that right?
Yeah, pay the videographer. Luckily, all the comedians come on board and they don't charge for their time on the show.
Oh no, they shouldn't either.
Yeah, but the good thing is they get a good promotion. So we put everything out on social media. We've got a YouTube channel. We've got all our seasons on YouTube. And we do, every week we're putting stuff out there. So we promote the show, we promote the comics. We've actually told all the comics if they want their time on the show that we've recorded, if they want it on USB or if they want us to send them a link. So they actually get to show, they've got a showroom.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so they do that. We give them a free meal at the Dandenong Club. They look after us pretty well at the Dandenong Club, so we've got full use of their function room.
Yep.
And everyone gets a meal and a drink as well. So,
see, Marco's probably should be like an ally of mine. We're kind of the grungy TV makers, mate. Where we, it's funny, because I did a show in a friend's garage called the Ryan Goldman Show.
Okay.
And I had a similar look and everything, but I was playing more of a coach. I wasn't really playing myself. Mm. And we did we would have done about maybe 25 episodes in my friend's garage.
Right.
And we had a different Tonight Show desk than this one. And then my friend's brother made this one. And then for some reason we never did the Ryan Goldman Show again. But I ended up with the desk.
Okay.
Anyway, a good friend of mine, Jimmy Lamalis, who was on the show. Have to check out Jimmy Lamalis on the show. He's on the show this week. Said to me, "Man, you got to get that show back up and running."
Right.
And my wife and I, we had no money at all.
Yeah.
And so, everything's just, Christmas tree lights and, $50 MDF board. And that's actually that pillar behind is a piece of cardboard box. Yeah. Put a cardboard box. Then we bought this on, one of those Tmall or one of those websites. It's the drinks cabinet.
Very good.
And bought the carpet. The blue carpet, and a few plastic plant. Anyway, I think it cost us $800.
Okay.
Or maybe, and then the camera gear was borrowed from a friend of mine, and all that set up, and the TV was a gift, and so it goes to show you that you can do a lot with very little.
Yeah. That's it. I'm lucky I've got a lot of support, so friends and family help out. All the comedians that come on the show, they come on there and they make their way to Dandenong. Some have to travel from a distance. And they're all there and they're ready to go, and we put on a show, and that's good. I've got my sister's doing front of house, doing the front desk, we have to get waivers filled out, media release forms.
Yeah.
So she's doing all that for me, and I've got my son and my daughter helping out. I've got my daughter doing This year my youngest daughter done the voiceover
Oh,
for the start
really?
of the show.
Wow,
So we've done some
fantastic.
voiceover and thought, I love it. Sounds good. Let's put you in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Marco, the next step, which is going to doing another season, then going. I mean, do you see it do you see it as like an ABC or SBS or commercial thing? I mean, who are you going to approach and how are you going to do it? How are you going to approach them?
Yeah, I've actually got a list. I've actually done a promo reel of the show. So we're using that as a commercial, 30-second commercial, which I think Channel 31 are airing at the moment.
Okay.
So I'm packaging it at the moment, emails, the 30-second promo, and all the links to our show. And I'm just going to basically start sending out emails. So it's hard to actually get in the front door. So sometimes you need to actually get a distributor or a promoter or someone that's in media, and they will present you, and then they can put it forward.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Have you got that person?
I'm looking for that person.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's funny, because I've often thought that the whole showbiz thing, Hollywood, TV, showbiz, Netflix, the whole thing, it's like this bloody fortress, and they've got the walls up and, there's no one to ring and there's no, and they're actually really protective of ideas. Please, whatever you do, don't send us an idea, because it might kind of overlap with something they've got in the works, or they just don't want to be influenced in a way. In fact, in Hollywood and you actually need a lawyer. Like a lawyer to represent your concept, but that lawyer will only take you on if you're a known entity. It's like this. It's bloody. You know what I mean? Like, where's the side window? Where's the? You get the ladder and climbing over the roof. But 31, that's a good avenue because it's kind of like. It's like the training wheels of television. Rob McManus went did a show called The Loft that ended up on Channel 10, Channel 9.
Yeah.
So Marco, if I packaged this show up, right?
Yeah.
And just gave it to you, could you send it and go, look, this Arwin Kraze show?
Yeah.
Yeah, I might take him up. I might take him up on that. Might take him up on that offer.
It's good. Yeah, Channel 31 have got obviously their criteria that they need. So as I said before, with the sound and picture quality, and then there's the actual format of the show. So it needs to be 30 minutes. It needs to fit in a 30-minute format, which means you need to give them 24 to 25 minutes.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And you're going to break that into 3. So that allows for commercial breaks in between, and obviously intro and outro.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
our show's normally, Marco, a 40-minute show.
Okay.
That's not going to stretch over an hour, is it? It needs to be like 45 minutes to be an hour show. Is that right? Or?
Yeah, I think you need to go. I don't know 100%. I've just given them half-hour formats, and they've told me what the time frame is and what the breaks.
Do you edit your show?
Yeah, I've got my cousin Dino, again, using friends and family as much as we can. But he does a lot of the work for me. I've got the videographer that does a lot of the editing as well.
Okay.
And then I've got cousin Dino, I just came from there actually.
Okay,
from
great.
Box Hill.
Great.
So he does a lot of the editing, does all the social media stuff, he does all the shorts, commercials, all the stuff that I don't know how to do because I'm a bit computer illiterate. So
okay.
that techie stuff.
Richie, I'll get you. We're going to hijack Marco, keep him here, lock the doors. We're going to get all his family and relatives over here and get the Arwin Kraze show up.
Right.
So
It's good.
So Marco, when you write material, you write your gags and stuff like that. How do you go about that? Like, how do you go about writing gags? I mean, is it because you said that you'll have a bit of a break from the stand-up and you'll write a gag and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How do gags come to you, and what's your kind of gag? What are your gags like?
I think I've always loved the first time I done stand-up, I was impersonating teachers. So if I hear, it's like I guess it's like a mockingbird or you hear something you want to imitate it. So I hear a voice, an accent, a character, and if I like it, I'll imitate it. So it's a lot of my early stuff was just doing impersonations of friends, family. I had a whole routine that I was talk about my neighbours, and I this next door neighbour, and I do the Greek lady, and then I do the Italian guy next door, and the Jewish guy down the road. Or every time I see something, hear something, it's just like I'm attracted to accents and voices.
So what suburb are you in, by the way?
So I'm in Dandenong.
Oh, you're in Dandenong.
That's why we film at the Dandenong Club.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I tell you
it's
what.
nice and close.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, when we have guests on the show, I for some reason I just assume they're kind of like 5 minutes away. I don't know why I make that assumption.
Yeah.
I mean, Marco, thank you for coming from Dandenong.
That's all right.
Can't believe it.
Yeah.
Now, characters. You said you do characters.
Yeah, I love character comedy.
Character comedy. Yeah. Now, I grew up back in the days of Comedy Company, when Comedy Company was on, Comedy Forever. Did you watch all that stuff?
Loved it.
And then they had Fast Forward, which was a whole bunch of character stuff as well. A lot of it was based on advertisements or TV shows, but it was very, very, very clever.
Yeah.
Thus, that's why I wear a wig, because I've come from that generation where you put a wig on your head and it's something you do. How do you find the character? How do you come up with a character, and how do you make that work? And what's the secret to that? Because when I started doing stand up, I was in a double act and we did characters called Crime Stoppers.
Yeah.
And we were playing two public relations police officers.
Okay.
And we would go to venues trying to raise awareness of the police force, what the police did.
Right.
But the trouble was that I think the thing was that we weren't hanging it on the police force. We were kind of hanging it on these characters. These characters were public relations police officers. They had failed mainstream coppery or whatever you call it. So I think it's important to say this was not an anti-police performance. It was more about these two idiots that couldn't be proper police. Yeah.
Right.
And I shouldn't say that about public relations police officers, because there's probably some geniuses there as well. But how do you go about characters? How do you go about finding them?
Again, it's just like this radar. If I hear or see something, I'll latch on and I'll go, oh, that's funny, and I'll write it down, and I'll just elaborate on it.
And you said you had the Russian guy. You were prior to COVID. So
we had a neighbour who was Slavic, and he'd swear a lot. So everything was like bullshit fucking. And then I've done this character on stage. Like he gets pulled over by a policeman. What are you doing, fucker? And it got to the point where I'd done a gig and I thought, I'll clean it up. And it was, I thought, I'm doing a show here. It's a more mature audience. And then I turned it into Russian.
Okay.
And that way I didn't have to do, the Slavic, bullshit fucking all the time and swear. So I thought, I'll clean it up. I'll go the Russian. And then there was just a whole accumulation of things would happen, and I'd have material written for other characters, and that'll work for the Russian character. So I'll be bringing stuff in. Next thing you know, I'm doing a whole routine just as Boris from Russia, and bang on this whole routine from start to finish.
And this is a really critical question for those of you who are interested in comedy. Because I started, I went to drama school, and then I actually studied youth theatre. Then I went to drama school. Then I went to comedy, and then actually our first thing we did was characters. Now characters are very rare in comedy. Like a full-on character with a costume and a wig or a look or whatever. Not so much in TV, but in Norman Gunston was a character, great character, But I often say to people, look, if you're going to do a character, it's going to take you 30 goes before you start to get any kind of traction with it. You know what I mean? Yeah. How have you found? How quick from inception to jumping up do you find that you can make these characters work? Or have you found the 30 gig rule to be right? That you have to go to it 30 times to get it.
Okay. Don't know. I do character comedy. Doesn't mean I'm good at character comedy, but I could give it a go. But if it makes me laugh and it's something I find funny, I'll write it and I'll just elaborate on it and then I'll perform it. And then I guess over time it evolves. The character evolves as well, gets bigger. You add more to it. I had one joke I was doing as Boris, and it was the vodka piss joke. And then I was performed it one night, and someone yelled out, goes, "Oh, you piss fast." And I said, "Oh yeah, if you piss vodka, you'll piss fast too." and then all of a sudden that became part of the routine. And then I was doing this vodka piss joke where basically a genie grants you a wish and you can piss vodka. So I'd be on stage, I'd use the microphone as a dick, and I'd fill up the glass of water. And then the second time I'd fill it up again, I'd exaggerate and have a look at this, and I'd stretch the mic out a bit. And then it became a visual thing as well. So all of a sudden people were seeing these glasses getting filled up and like, geez, not blah, so that was It was an evolution, I guess, and then also changing the character from Slavic to Russian.
Did you find? I mean, this is because I want to kind of ask you a question about what you found here.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, imagine I get up on stage, just dressed normally. G'day, mate. How you going? Name's Tony. And then you got another guy who gets up with his runners and his tracksuit pants. Go, Jimmy here. And then you got another guy who gets up and Ryan, I've just knocked off work. Yeah, did does his routine. Yeah. But then a Russian character gets up amongst.
Yeah.
Is it a fight to make it work, to sell it? Is it a fight?
Yeah. And so when I first started, I was doing myself and talking about my neighbours, and I'd go into their characters, and then I found out early on that the character was strong, and I was pretty weak. It was just like some guy just having a chat, and then all of a sudden you break into characters and there was something different. You come to life. And then we had at the Comics Lounge, they used to have Tuesday night Rising Star night, and then they used to do this is going back a good 15, 20 years now. They used to do comedy workshops.
Yeah.
And then you'd sit together and you'd have one of the comedians that have been around for a long time would sort of coach you through, and for first timers you can get up on stage and see what it's like to be behind a mic, and you can talk about your material and get feedback and get yourself prepared to actually go on stage as a new comic. And then we had a Young Guns night, and it was like rapid fire comedy. It was 2-minute routines, so no 5 minutes, it was 2 minutes. Get up there, do your best 2 minutes, and then one comedian after the other. And with that, you didn't have time to go into different characters, so I thought, I'll just go on as a character. And we had it the first night, and I'd done an Italian character. I had an uncle who, it was funny, sometimes we'd be talking about the local paper. So Zillo, you've seen the paper? He goes, yeah, it's on the table, And I can't see, where is it? Is it right there? And I actually asked him for the liquid paper. Do you have any liquid paper? He goes, yeah, it's on the table. I'm looking for this liquid paper. And he's getting upset with me. Hey, Mark, it's on the bloody table there. It's right in front of you, under your nose. Have a look, it's right there. Here. And I'm like, and he goes, yeah, the local paper. So there's all this miscommunications about the local paper, liquid paper. Yeah. So I find things like that pretty amusing, play on words, and just a misinterpretation. So that'd be me doing with different characters.
I'll tell you, back in the day, in the inception of comedy in Melbourne, when they had the Last Laugh, they had the Joke upstairs, right, and they had another comedy room. There's only basically 2 comedy rooms in, back in when it started. Yeah. But characters were all the go. Like everyone, every act was kind of like, you had the Wheel family. Like every act was kind of like, some sort of character basis almost in it. Okay. And then what we've found as time's gone on, there's just hardly really no characters at all. Everyone's getting up, in their attire, that their street attire, and just getting up there and being funny. And it's a big shame, because I came to comedy from an acting background, and I don't know if you've seen the Shackmasters on my YouTube channel. Have you seen the Shack? We'll have a look at the Shackmaster characters. You should come on the Shackmasters and come play character. Come play, because it's character driven. What I was going to ask is about, so the dream. What is the dream in terms of financial or monetary wise? You know what I mean? We this concept of being kind of like a comedy martyr, where we die for our love of comedy, die for the stage or whatever. But because you're in the promotion and the producing facet of it, is there a monetary desire other than just offering a vehicle? Would you if Michael Gudinski, Mushroom Records, obviously gave all this opportunity to Australian artists, musical artists, but also made a packet. Yeah. Would that be something that, where you go to a Channel 10 and you have 3 or 4 shows up, and it's kind of like, it's a kind of proper, real stealth production company? Would that be a dream?
Yeah, I think on a personal level, to actually have the show go to a network, that'll be just a reward on its own. And then obviously it's a bigger platform for other comedians, and to actually be able to do it full time and make a full time living out of it, that'll be ideal. Yeah, it's money's going out, nothing's coming in.
So money's going out, nothing's coming in. let's just put that in gold. Money's going out, nothing's coming in. It's the same as the Arwin Kraze show, you know. It's just one of those things, you know. I mean, I haven't paid for the carpet yet, you know, the blue carpet. Well, we have, but so Marco, you know, would you? It's an interesting question, talking about the whole dream thing, right?
Yeah.
Do you see yourself more as a behind the scenes guy, being a mover and shaker, or do you see yourself as more of a Steve Vizard kind of guy, having shows but actually then playing roles within those shows? Like, what if you had to pick one or the other? What would you rather be? Because in Tell Us Another One, you do play a role in that, right?
Yeah,
you are
the
on
host.
camera.
Yeah.
On the host. Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be nice to still be the host of a show that you created. But if it goes to a network and they say, oh, we need a front man that's known and well known and someone that's already, you know, established. So yeah, it might not be me, but it'd be nice to have at least the show and the format presented on a major network and at least give that opportunity to a few other people.
Do you get scared about swimming with the sharks?
Yeah.
You know, because the networks are
Yeah.
you know, they're kind of like like I've often found this whole idea of like, okay, so let's say so a network comes to me and says, look, we want you to do the Arwin Kraze show on TV, right?
Yeah.
And you know that there was a famous comedian, African American guy who sat in this. It was with NBC or something.
Okay.
Sat in this room full of lawyers, and he just assumed that the lawyers were all on his side.
Ah, okay.
And then they threw him this big check.
Yeah.
And and he signed, and only to realise that forever he owned none of his own show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That other people owned his show, and the initial carrot was worth it. But like 20 years later, they're still running reruns of his show. He doesn't see a cent. And so,
Yeah. Wow.
how do you feel about the business side of things? I mean, are you au fait, up to scratch with the business side? Because I'm not. But
No, like you mentioned before, you pretty much need a lawyer. Like you're saying, I think the American system. But you still need to, even with Channel 31, there is a contract.
Yeah.
There is terms, conditions of the things you need to adhere to.
Yeah.
I definitely need to brush up on that. There is media release forms we get people to sign.
Yeah.
And I think it's more complex now than it ever has been. There's so much going on now with, people's rights and, there's...
can't offend anyone anymore.
There's all the political correctness as well. I think, and then going from Channel 31 to potentially going to a network, you've got the networks and their contracts, and you've got to wade your way through all that, I suppose. So it does get to the point where it does get scary. And then do you have creative freedom as well?
Yeah.
So what do they actually want? What do they see the show being, and how much creative freedom do you have?
It's funny. It's funny. There seems to be this kind of catch-22 situation where they want people who have got runs on the board.
Yeah.
In terms of producers, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, to get runs on the board, you've got to kind of initially get your foot in somehow and get a start.
Yeah.
I think it's terribly. I'm going to bang my fist against it. That's terribly unfair. What I don't look, and I'm going to make a judgment call here. What I don't like is the fact that they get the same 20 people, and they rehash the same faces. And look, I understand it. I mean, Jordan Peterson, love him or hate him, clinical psychologist, says that once you're successful, people keep throwing you opportunity and more success comes. And once you're a proven thing, then, obviously, and who would, I mean, I like it when people become successful. I get excited. I'm happy for people, to get excited. But I sit on the same side of the chessboard, Marco, as you, when I say that we need to give people opportunity.
Yeah.
We need to give people opportunity. We need more faces there. We need to say, okay, well, who's next? Yeah. Okay, you know what I mean?
That's right.
Sigourney Weaver, not Sigourney Weaver, I'm thinking of the Australian actress, I can't think of her name, but, from the 70s, been everything, you know what I mean? Like that, that thing that happens, and so Marco, what's the timeline to produce an SBS, so you're doing one more season, is that right?
Yeah, so this year we've applied for the Geelong Comedy Festival, and if we're successful, I'll run the show in Geelong. for its 4th season, and we'll obviously do it all from a venue in Geelong, so it's all up in here at the moment. If that doesn't work, we'll go back to Dandenong Club and do another season there. But yeah, putting the show together, so before you even start filming, it's basically assembling the show.
Single thought.
Yeah.
Single
Single
thought.
thought, okay.
I'm not so going to single thought. That's what I was thinking of. You're going to think I'm crazy. I am crazy. I don't care. So Marco, the big question now, right? To get this far, what's it cost you? 10 grand, 20, 25?
Each show, just in outgoings, and that's basically paying for, the filming of the show, the production. Each show is probably about 4 grand. Yeah. So that's videography.
No, hang on a sec.
Yeah, have a drink. Yeah.
Have a drink.
There you go.
4 grand?
Yeah.
4 grand a show.
4 grand to film a season.
Oh, that's a whole season.
To film a season. Yeah.
And how many shows? And there's 8 shows in a season.
We've actually managed to do about 12 to 14. So what we do is we film two a night over 5 nights. Sorry, I said 4 nights. We do 5 nights, so we do 10. And then we'll also do specials as well. So we actually cut them up and we do best of and specials.
Okay, so it's working out to be $500 a show.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
400-500 a show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's it.
Well, I actually spend $400 a show on this at the Pokies after the show. So I go to the pub after the show and I spend $400 a week. Yeah, so it's costing me similar money.
Yeah.
Marco, it's been great to have you on the show. I want you to come back, to tell us what's going on and give us updates and everything.
Oh, for sure.
And also, we need to get together and have a coffee. I mean, Marco's obviously got, connections. He's connected, in the good ways. Marco, final words. Any final words?
Look, if you've got a show like yourself, 31's a great way to get some experience, get some runs on the board, and give it a red hot go. Get out there.
Mate, we will talk again. Yeah. Marco, thanks for coming on the show. You've been listening to Arwin Kraze Show. We'll see you next time.
Your man, go to bed like a good boy. Take your man, go to bed like a good boy. Take your man, go to bed like a good boy. Take your man, go to bed like a good boy. Take your man, go to bed like a good boy. Take your man, go to bed like a good boy. Take your man, go to bed like a good boy. Ooh yeah. Go to bed like a good boy. Take your meds. Go to bed like a good boy. Take your meds. Go to bed like a good boy. Take your meds. Go to bed like a good boy. Take your meds. Go to bed like a good boy. Take your meds. Go to bed like a good boy. Take your meds. Go to bed like a good boy. Ooh yeah.